Welcome to my channel. My name is Adina. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and in this video I will be going over the energy of Mercury retrograde in Taurus. Mercury stations retrograde April 21st, 2023, and the beginning portion of this video I will go over the general energy, and then I will get into all 12 rising signs. That way you're able to see how this energy is showing up for you more personally. If you align with my energy and you like my content, subscribe and like this video. Now let's get right into it. So Mercury entered Taurus April 3rd and will remain in Taurus until June 11th, 2023. April 21st, Mercury is going to station retrograde right after we have this solar eclipse in Aries on the 19th or 20th, depending on your time zone. I will be posting a video about the solar eclipse in Aries and also going over all 12 rising signs so that you are able to see how this solar eclipse is showing up for you, because this is quite significant energy and really sets the tone for the next eclipse cycle and nodal cycle. So make sure you watch for that. Now, Mercury stations retrograde an hour after this solar eclipse at 15 degrees and will move back to 5 degrees. So you want to note if you have any personal planets or points in Taurus from 5 to 15 degrees, because Mercury will be moving right over that area, activating that energy for you. So you definitely want to note if you have any personal planets or points there. Now, May 1st, Mercury is going to be cazimi, meaning that Mercury forms a conjunction to the sun. And the fact that Mercury is going to be retrograde during this period is really going to heighten that energy. Now, Mercury will be combust, meaning that Mercury will be within 12 to 14 degrees of the sun, the end of April, beginning of May. So this is a time period where this Mercury retrograde energy is going to be heightened and quite significant. So things we can feel during this time is lack of clarity, brain fog, hard time communicating. This is a time where we want to watch our communication, our texts, our emails, our vehicles, because Mercury rules vehicles. So this is definitely a time period where we just want to be cautious when it comes to communicating. We don't want to sign any important documents and all of that Mercury retrograde stuff, because it's going to be quite heightened with the fact that Mercury is combust. So I wanted to put that out there just so that you can be mindful of that. Let's go over some of this Taurus energy, because we already have a lot of energy around, like, Taurus rules our banking systems, our finances, our money, our material possessions, and we have a lot of this energy right now that we are moving through. We have a lot of information coming out about the banking systems, the digital currency. All of this stuff is going to be highlighted during this time. There's going to be more information coming out between this time period that, because it's a Mercury retrograde, it's probably going to be confusing, and we may not get clarity on it until Mercury stations direct. However, there is one more thing I want to point out, is that Jupiter will be retrograding over this same area in September. So whatever is coming up at this time, we may not even feel completely clear about what's going on until September, when we have Jupiter here. Now, Jupiter will be retrograding over this time, over this period, the same area of your chart. However, Jupiter kind of brings optimism. So if we're hearing something that's scary, or something that we don't really, not necessarily scary, but that we don't understand. I know there's a lot of information online about the banking systems and all of these changes going on. So we all feel differently about it, and I don't really want to go one way or another, but we're definitely going to hear more information about it. And so if there's a lack of clarity there, there's going to be something else that comes up in September around this whole theme of banks, finances, money, material possession. So I just wanted to put that out there as well. And so, whatever we see coming up at this time, it's kind of showing us what we will be moving through over this Mercury retrograde period. So, in your personal life, you want to see what is already starting to come up, because we tend to get a feel of these astrological energies, not just when they happen, but leading up to when they happen, where it's a few days or a few weeks. In this case, you're probably already feeling it. So pay attention to what is starting to come up, and just keep it at the back of your mind, because that's probably what you will be moving through over this time period. Now, I want to also note that June 4th, so Mercury stations direct May 14th or 15th, depending on your time zone. And June 4th, Mercury is going to form a conjunction to Uranus. This is interesting. Now, this happens once a year, right? Mercury forms a conjunction to Uranus. So, and it's always around April. So, if you look back at, a certain time of your life, and the interesting thing about this, not certain time of your life, certain time of the year, but the interesting thing about this is that a lot of times we move through these energies and don't understand why until we start learning about astrology, and then everything makes sense. Because an energy like this with Mercury and Uranus can bring anxiety, right? Uranus rules the electrical systems of our body. So this is a time where we can feel extra anxious or dealing with more anxiety. This is also a time where, because it's Uranus, it's very sudden, very chaotic. Uranus can bring change, sudden change. So we do want to be mindful of that as well. This can be a time where we hear change that has to do with the Taurus theme. So this can be more information around our financial systems and sudden information, right? Because this is Uranus. So we really do want to be cautious that we can hear something about the banks, about the finances, about material possessions, or even in your personal life. Also our food supply, because Taurus rules our food supply. So we do just want to watch at this time what is coming up, because it can be very sudden and very chaotic. Now let's get into all 12 rising signs. I will go over all 12 rising signs. That way you can see how this Mercury retrograde is showing up for you. So let's get right into it. Aries, this is happening in your second house. So you will have Mercury retrograding through your second house of finances, money, material possessions. So this can be a time where there may be confusion around your finances, or something coming up that requires a time out, in a sense, because that's sometimes what Mercury retrograde can bring, is a need for a time out or reevaluating. So the themes and topics that you will be going through over this time period is your money. So this may be a time to just sit with some energy around your money. Maybe wait till Mercury retrograde is done to form a decision if something does arise that has to do with your banking, your money, your material possessions. This can also be a time where the way you feel about money, or your attitude about money, can be, the energy around that can be reprogramming in some sense, because the second house also represents how we feel about money and our subconscious beliefs around money. So this can also be a time where you are working with maybe old beliefs or subconscious beliefs about how you feel about money. Taurus, you have this Mercury retrograde happening in your first house. So this Mercury retrograde is really working with you specifically. The first house represents you, your personality, your character, your appearance, your physical body. This can really be a time of you feeling almost in between, as if you were in between stages, or not sure what direction you want to take next. So this may be a time period where you really want to sit and reevaluate reevaluate where you are and the direction that you want to go in. So I suggest that if during this time period you are feeling confused or feeling like you are lost in a sense and don't know which direction to take, sit with the energy, feel it out, wait for Mercury retrograde to kind of pass, and then things will start to feel clearer. So this is also an energy where if you are on some type of self-discovery journey or soul growth journey, that this is really an in-between stage of sitting with some old energy and working with it in order to move forward. Gemini, you have this Mercury retrograde happening in your 12th house. So the 12th house is it's very spiritual. It also represents past lives, karmic energy, isolation, and places that are hidden. So this can be a time period where you feel like you want to retreat. Go on a retreat, or just feel like you want to take a time out from the world, maybe isolate a little bit, healthy isolation. But go back into your spiritual practices, tap back into your spirituality. Or this can also be a time where maybe you're confused about your spiritual path and you need to do a little bit more research. Take a time out, kind of reevaluate your spiritual path and the direction that you want to go in, and you will get clarity by the time this Mercury retrograde period is over. Cancer, you have this Mercury retrograde happening in your 11th house. So the 11th house represents friendships, online connections, social media, humanitarian pursuits, also your hopes and dreams. So this can be a time where maybe there is confusion around your friends or friendships, or confusion with your online connections or online business. So this may be a time where you want to go over something that you have put online, redo it in some way, reevaluate it, or also if something comes up with your friends or friendships, sit with it. Maybe there's something confusing that you're not understanding when it comes to your friendships or online connections. So this is a time period where if something does come up, sit with it, reevaluate the situation. You really don't want to take anything head on during a Mercury retrograde. You really want to sit with that energy. Leo, you have this Mercury retrograde happening in your 10th house of career, public reputation, and the legacy that you leave behind. So this can be a time where career or work issues may arise, or confusion around your career. So you may just want to reevaluate any situation that comes up. Don't rush into anything head on, sit with it. Or this can also be a time where you decide to redo something that has to do with your career. Or if you're applying for jobs, maybe redoing your resume, something like that. So if anything is coming up at this time that is causing any type of confusion, sit with this energy, review it. If you have to redo anything, this is a perfect time to do so. Virgo, you have this Mercury retrograde happening in your 9th house of higher education, religion, philosophy, traveling, belief systems. So this can actually be a time where you are reevaluating your belief systems, maybe realizing that what you once believed in, you no longer believe it anymore. So this can really be a time where you are looking at old beliefs and old belief patterns. And this can also be a time where if you are trying to apply for a higher education or a course of some kind, you may run into roadblocks. And I also highly suggest not trying to travel during this period, because this is in your house of long distance travel. So try to wait until Mercury retrograde has passed to do any long distance traveling. Libra, you have this Mercury retrograde happening in your 8th house of your partner's finances or money coming in from outside resources. This is also the house of psychological trauma or transformation. So things may arise at this time during Mercury retrograde that may be confusing around your partner's finances, or a delay on some type of money coming in from outside resources. If you are trying to get money from some type of outside resources, there may be some type of roadblocks or delays with that. And this can also be a time period of maybe bringing up some old psychological wounds that you need to move through during this time, maybe to review and reevaluate, or maybe realize that there's still healing that needs to be done in that area, or with something that you thought maybe you already healed from, but maybe there's still energy around that needs to be worked with. Scorpio, you have this Mercury retrograde happening in your seventh house of relationships, partnerships, business partnerships, and close personal connections. So this can be a time period where maybe you are feeling like there is miscommunication with your relationships or misunderstandings. So this is definitely a time where you want to make sure you are communicating clearly to your partner or business partner or all of your close personal relationships, because Mercury retrograde can bring misunderstandings and miscommunication. So this is a time where you really want to make sure that you are speaking clearly, especially with texts and emails and online communicating. So this is just something you really want to be aware of at this time, is how you are communicating with others and making sure that you are communicating clearly so that there are no misunderstandings or miscommunication during this time period. Sagittarius, you have this Mercury retrograde transiting through your sixth house of health, work, and daily routine. So this can be a time period where maybe you feel some type of setback when it comes to your health or your health routine, where maybe there's confusion around your health, or you feel like there's some type of delay or challenge that arises. So definitely just sit with this energy. Try not to take anything head on during the Mercury retrograde. Sit with the energy, feel the energy, move through whatever is coming up. And then once Mercury stations direct, there will be the energy there to support you moving forward with whatever comes up. This can also be a time period where you feel confusion around work or daily schedule of some kind. So this may also be a time where you want to reschedule yourself. So redo your schedule and your daily routine. Capricorn, you have this Mercury retrograde transiting through your fifth house of children, hobbies, activities. So you may feel like there's confusion around children at this time. This may also be a time where you are reevaluating or rediscovering new activities and hobbies, maybe discovering that things you once liked, maybe those have changed, or getting back into what you used to like. So the fifth house is a very positive house. It has to do with children, fun, play, activities, and hobbies. So this is just really a time where you're sitting with the energy, reevaluating the direction that you want to go in when it comes to your children or what you love and enjoy doing. Aquarius, you have this Mercury retrograde happening in your fourth house of home and family, property, real estate, parents. So this can be a time period where maybe there's confusion around property and real estate. If you're trying to sell your home, there could be delays or challenges in this area at this time. This can also be a time period where there is confusion or something coming up with your parents. And also this is a time period where maybe you are deciding to renovate your home, or you're sitting there looking at your home, you want to redecorate it or renovate it. So this energy really has to do with home, family, parents, property. So if anything does come up at this time, this isn't a time period where you want to take anything head on. Sit with the energy, write ideas down if you want to redecorate or renovate, and then you can start all of that after the Mercury retrograde passes. Pisces, you have this Mercury retrograde happening in your third house of community, neighbors, siblings, cousins, early childhood education, reading, writing, communicating. So this is really a time period where you may actually have extra issues with communicating or brain fog, because the third house does represent communicating and writing. So this is a time period where you want to watch how you are communicating. Double check your words when you're writing and texting and emailing. Make sure there's no spelling errors, because this is a heightened energy with Mercury retrograde being in the third house. This is also a time period where challenges or some type of setbacks or what feels like a setback happens within your community or neighbors. So this is definitely a time where you do want to watch what is going on in your local community and with your neighbors. Watch misunderstandings. Just make sure that you are communicating clearly so that there's no misunderstandings or miscommunication.